I didn't like that he yelled at his girlfriend like that. But Ted Bundy, hi, I love you so much. Let's get married. Like, it's just weird.
Welcome, everybody, to the Not For Nothing podcast, hosted by the dynamic duo Christopher Michael and Ashley Maland, where they delve into life, love, relationships, and personal growth. Be sure to tune in every week for a refreshing take on life's most important lessons.
All right, we're back. Another week in the books. What's up, Ash? You look a little tired.
I'm so sleepy.
Yeah? Well, we'll see if we can wake you up a little bit. We're going to do Cancel Culture 101 today.
Well, certainly fire me up.
Will it fire you up? Well, I can't wait to hear this.
Usually does.
We haven't talked enough about this stuff, though. You know, with all the shit going on over the last year. Will Smith.
I mean, last 20 years, really.
20 years,
but especially the last 5.
Yeah, Will Smith was a big one. Kevin Hart wasn't the last year, though. But over the Oscars, it's just crazy what cancel culture has become. Yeah,
I agree. I mean, I feel like at some point, everyone that's, you know, really big has been canceled for something. Like the Kardashians, they go after them constantly.
Oh, for sure.
Jennifer Lopez has really been hit this year. Whew.
Over what, though? I don't know if I saw that.
Oh, they got her good. So Jennifer Lopez has been known to be like a diva, right?
Right.
It's Jennifer Lopez. It's kind of like what you expect, right?
Yeah.
Well, this year she made a documentary. Did you see the documentary or the movie?
I saw parts of it, but I know of it. Yes.
I don't know if it was a documentary or a movie, or if she made a documentary and a movie. I really don't know because I don't keep up with that.
I'm pretty sure it was like a documentary. From the parts that I saw of it, that's what I think it was.
Well, there's a part in there,
right,
where she talked about being in the Bronx, like being from the Bronx, right? And apparently a bunch of people called her out and were like, "You're not from the Bronx.
Right.
You lived here when you were like 3 for like a year." Who knows? I don't know. Couldn't tell you.
From the block.
Yeah, who knows? Couldn't tell you. But a bunch of people called her out. That led to like an onslaught of a million other things just coming out about her. Next thing you know, there are people coming out of the woodworks talking about what a horrible human being she is, how awful she is to the people that work for her. It was kind of like the Ellen DeGeneres thing, right?
Yeah.
It was real similar to that. And then next thing you know, her and Ben are like getting divorced, and like they've hit her hard this year. But like all of her ticket sales plummeted. She ended up having to cancel her entire tour.
That's wild.
And I go to LA here and there quite a bit. I've talked to people in the industry, the cosmetology industry, that have actually worked with her. Some of them are very well known for working with celebrities. And some of them work with celebrities kind of under the radar.
Right.
And I will say, they have all said the same thing, that she was horrible to work for.
Really?
That she was horrible to work for.
I believe it.
They've all said it. And like to the degree that they have all said they have avoided any phone call from her people at all costs because they would never want to work with her again.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Now, that said, I'm always so leery about stuff like this when it comes to cancel culture, because I feel like once one nail has been driven in, I feel like the onslaught of noise just goes haywire and people just come out of the woodworks. And honest to God, there are at times I don't even know if I believe the stuff that people are saying, or if they're just getting paid to be part of the narrative against someone, right?
Yeah.
And with our media, you just don't know. You don't know what's true and what's false and what's real and what's not anymore. Like they will crucify people left and right.
Yeah.
You know, like they'll crucify anybody if that's part of the plan.
Right.
Like, and so I'm always very leery about stuff like that.
No, I agree. I mean, it's always nice to find out for yourself, for sure. But I mean, in certain circumstances, you have to if you've met a couple of people or multiple people that work with somebody and they're all saying the same thing about them, chances are it's probably true.
Yeah.
But like what gets me with something like that, like, I mean, I don't necessarily think that she deserves to be canceled for it. I mean, some people are just rude, you know, or hard to work for. I mean, it is what it is.
True.
What are you going to do? You're going to cancel every rude person in the world? I mean,
there's a difference between being a rude person and being just like a horrible human being.
Yeah.
Now, who knows where that fine line stands for somebody like her? I don't know. Couldn't tell you. Never met the lady.
Horrible human being is a strong statement, though.
Yeah, right. We're talking like Ted Bundy. Like that's when I think of horrible human beings. I think of serial killers.
Right, absolutely.
And rapists and murderers, and you know what I mean? Like that's where my head goes.
Right. I get that though. But I mean, for someone like her, you know what I just don't get about these people, like wealthy people or people that have superstardom like that? It is the easiest thing in the world to be humble and gracious
Is it though?
And it really is. I don't find it difficult at all.
I don't find it difficult.
It's
However,
the easiest thing. You have to want to be that way, though. You have to just, why can't you just be nice to people? Why do you have to be rude or obnoxious or be difficult to work with? Why can't you just be a pleasant person and respect every other human being the same way they respect you? Why is that such a stretch for people?
I mean, that's common courtesy, right? You would expect that. You would think that.
Right.
But I think a lot of it has to do with, I don't think it's, especially for like celebrities, I don't think it's easy for them to be humble and gracious because they are catered to in a way that you and I will never understand, right?
Yeah.
Everyone's bending over backwards. One of the friends that I had that had worked with her, with Jennifer Lopez, had said that like literally everyone on the team was scared of her,
right,
to disagree with her, to go against anything she said. They literally sucked up to her so bad just to keep the peace.
Right.
And it was all fake. But it was all like, oh, that's amazing, J-Lo. That's great, J-Lo.
Right.
We loved it. That's so cool. Because they were afraid of her. But my point is just that she's grown accustomed to some sort of life that's what people do for her. So for her, I don't think it would be easy to be humble or gracious. Yeah, because you were like spoiled, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I get it, but that's even more the reason why you should be respectful and humble to people. But at the end of the day, like I don't sympathize with her because at the end of the day, there are people like the Johnny Depps of the world, the Keanu Reeves of the world.
That's true.
The Denzel Washingtons, the Meryl Streeps, the people who are in their own
Viola
right
Davis.
Superstars, right? And they're all gracious and humble and grounded people.
Yeah, I agree.
Why is it any different for her? I mean,
I do agree with you. I'm not saying I don't agree with that. My point was just that I think it's created.
Right.
I think that type of arrogance and ego is created, you know?
I'm sure to a degree it gets to their head, I would think.
Yeah. Which is the danger of it. Like some people just aren't fit for it. Like they're not fit for fame because it goes up here and like they turn into a monster. You know?
Yeah, Alec Baldwin's known for his tantrums.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I mean, he's always fighting some paparazzi or throwing a fucking camera at somebody.
I will say I'd get sick of that.
But he's aggressive, though. Russell Crowe had his altercations with paparazzi.
I love Russell Crowe. I'm not going to lie. I mean,
he's great. I love his movies.
Gladiator? Come on, man.
They're coming out with another one.
I am pumped about that. Wow. I will be in that theater day one.
I feel like, you know what it is for movies like that? Like that first one was so great with him. I just can't imagine the second one living up to my expectation.
Before you even say anything like that, Denzel Washington is in it.
That's true.
How dare you?
No, I get that. Listen, and I'll probably love his character.
And Pedro Pascal is in it, or Pedro Pascal is in it.
He is in it.
It's going to be good.
It should be good.
It's going to be good.
You don't think you're going to find yourself comparing it to the first?
No, because it's completely different. I mean, it's not completely different, but it's like completely different cast.
Right.
Except for the one character, the queen or the emperor's sister that was in the first Gladiator.
Oh, is she in it again?
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of just hoping that Russell Crowe really didn't die. And he's just like going to come out for like
They're like going to have a surprise ending.
Yeah, like a surprise ending, you know? He's going to be the guy that he's going to be the guy that brings everybody to the Coliseum. Remember the guy that brought him the War of the Hood that saved his life?
Yeah.
That's going to be
that would be crazy.
He's going to pull the hood off, and, you know.
You know, another guy that somewhat got canceled for a while was Mel Gibson.
Oh, yeah.
Remember that?
Because he had his racist tangent that he went on.
Yeah, and his phone calls with his, was it an ex-wife or girlfriend or something that was recorded?
His ex-wife, now his ex-wife.
Where he was like going ballistic.
Well, his father is bizarre. His father doesn't believe the Holocaust even happened.
What?
Yeah. They got crazy views in that family.
That is
I love Mel Gibson. I do. He's always been, he's one of my favorite actors.
I mean, Braveheart is my favorite movie.
He's amazing. But, and I genuinely think he had a misstep. I think he was drinking. He was an alcoholic. He's not an alcoholic. And I think he was having a hard time. And I think, listen, he's not excused by any stretch for making racist and bigoted remarks. But do I think he's his father? No. His father's a whole nother level.
I've never even heard of his father. I don't even know who he is.
Apparently, he just doesn't even believe that the Holocaust happened.
How does that happen?
I don't really know.
Genuinely decide one day, I don't believe history.
Right.
I don't believe these documented events.
Right.
I just choose not to.
Yeah, I know.
It's like flat earthers.
The flat earthers. Oh.
I don't believe the world is round. Do I have the proof for it? No.
They're just wild, those people. It's like, and just, I don't know.
But you know what? This is what I hate about cancel culture too. Like one of the things, especially because it's always like the same type of people. It's always celebrities, right? It's always people in the spotlight, which, I get. Like you do sign yourself up to a degree to exposure, right? You have to, and I get it. I'm not a celebrity. I may never be a celebrity. That's fine.
Right.
But even I understand like that sometimes stuff gets directed at you that's just not, that's ridiculous, that's out of line. However, one of the things that I do hate about it is that we'll use Mel Gibson as the example. The man is an absolute genius when it comes to film and cinema and scripts. And I mean, he wrote and produced, like he directed Braveheart, right? Am I wrong?
He wrote and directed it,
and acted in it. Yeah. I mean, one of the greatest movies ever made.
Yeah.
At least in my opinion, my favorite movie.
No, I agree with you. It is one of the best.
The Passion of the Christ, whether you're a religious person or Christian or person or not, that movie was phenomenally made. Yeah. Like it was exceptional. Yeah. And he did all of that. Like that's one of the things that I did sort of hate about cancel culture is that sometimes, how do you say this without this probably sounds bad, but like sometimes even bad people can do really amazing things.
Right.
Like
I get that.
And I hate saying the word bad people, but does that make sense? Do you know where I'm going with this?
People just tend to disregard all the good that he's done because of the, one bad thing that he did.
No, there is a fine line too.
There is a fine line for sure.
Harvey Weinstein made a lot of great movies. Obviously, but screw that guy.
No, but that's
like that goes beyond like a blow up on an ex.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean? That goes again like beyond. I'm an alcoholic and I need help.
Right.
Right. In my opinion.
Well, he was a predator.
Yeah.
I can't even hold him in the same category.
No, you can't.
And that's the difference, though, and that's why I say, and that's what I hate about cancel culture is the fact that in the end they wind up holding everybody into the same light.
That's what I'm saying.
So you know what I mean? There's no
everything's
difference.
Black and white.
Right, it is.
It's like you're canceled because you suck.
Right.
And you're going to go in this category with all these other horrific, awful people that should be in prison if they're not yet.
Right.
Because you had a super embarrassing moment.
Right.
Or again, I'm not making light of Mel Gibson's history because it was purely abuse the way he acted like that. And I'm a domestic violence survivor, so I get it. And that's not necessarily a forgivable thing.
Right.
But I don't know enough either about someone like that to.
Yeah, I don't know. See, I don't know about the physical abuse part of it. I know verbally.
I don't know if he did physically.
No, verbally, I know he was.
But
I mean,
obviously, abuse is still abuse, right? Like.
Yeah, I mean, listen, they were also drunken tirades, I mean, does it justify it? No, but he's since gotten help, and he's never had another instance where anything like that has happened again, at least that we know of.
Really?
Yeah, nothing's come out after that. But
I mean, most abusers are like either addicts or alcoholics, or and that can't be a crutch either.
No,
you know what I mean? It can't be an excuse because that's in you or it's not.
No, I'm not saying it as an excuse. I'm saying. Did he change? I think he did. I think he changed his life. I think he was in a bad place. And I think he did some pretty awful things.
He made some
awful comments. And I think, he realized the error of his ways and he did what he could do to at least try to get himself onto the right path. And he's, by all accounts, been good,
Yeah.
But
I do hope he'll make another movie. At some point.
They're doing Lethal Weapon 5, actually.
Besides that.
Well, that was the movie that made him.
I know. I get that. Like, it's probably like a personally.
I love it.
Sentimental project for him. But I hope he makes another, like, Braveheart, another Passion of the Christ type movie.
I'm sure he will. I think he is doing a sequel to The Passion.
Is he really?
Yeah, he is. Mm-hmm.
I wonder what it is.
It's the after Jesus rises from the dead. It's that time period.
That would be interesting.
So you remember the end of the movie? He was gone from the tomb.
Yeah.
So I guess it's supposed to pick up where that left off.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, be pretty cool.
I'm very curious to see that.
Yeah, I don't know when it's coming out though, but it's on his IMDb, I believe.
Did you ever watch the first one?
I did. Mm-hmm.
It was brutal.
It was, and that's why a lot of Jewish people had a really big problem with it because of how they were depicted. That was another thing that added to him being canceled.
Oh,
yeah. Well, it made them look like savages.
Okay.
For sure. So that definitely, that definitely fanned the flame.
I'm sure it did. I'm sure it did. You can't let, yeah.
But yeah, like we were saying, I mean, it's just wild to me that everybody, no matter how bad things are, they all get grouped together, right? Because canceled is canceled.
Yeah, that's right.
You know, so there's no threshold. There's no, you know, well, this person deserves this more than this one. It's just, that's it. They have it out for you and it's done.
And you're
matter.
done. Yeah,
and
you're
done.
cooked. You're toast.
Yep.
At least for a while. Unless it's like, again, it's a Harvey Weinstein or like a, you know, Bill Cosby situation, which at that point, you're gone for good. You're done for good.
Who would have ever thought that guy?
I think I've said this before, but that shocked me. That literally, it shocked me.
Yeah.
Still to this day.
It's crazy.
I would have happily joined him at his home.
Yeah.
I would have trusted him completely.
Yeah, I mean, I would have never guessed it from him.
When I say join him at his home, I don't mean like that. But
no, I know what you mean.
Not my type.
Right.
Not exactly my type, but I would have trusted him. Like,
yeah, I get it.
As a person, just in general.
Yeah, some people shock you. You know, it just goes to show.
It does.
You don't know who they are, and you can't go based off of a character that they play.
No, you can't. In fact, this is really interesting. I heard this woman the other day. I was watching. It was talking about domestic violence and like the typical stereotype of what they find in therapy. So she is a therapist, and like her actual job is rehabilitation with abusers. Right. But these are not voluntary. Okay. Most abusers do not voluntarily go to therapy. This is like court mandated, like they have no other choice.
Right. Otherwise go to jail.
Right.
Right.
So she said what she found interesting was that she had come to realize over the course of time, and she didn't just work with abusers. It was like a group of people that all were court mandated to come into therapy, but there was always an abuser in there at some point. She said that she found that it would always end up being the one that was there for domestic violence that was her favorite in her whole group.
Really?
And she said, and here's why. She goes, this is why it's so hard for people to wrap their head around when a woman comes out and believe her.
Right.
She said, because they were always the most helpful. They were always the most charming, charismatic. They were always the most likable in every single group meeting that we would have. And she said, and so I was always immediately drawn to them and would then always find out that that's why they were there.
Okay.
And she said, and I found that very interesting. And it made her really take like a second look at why it's so hard for people to believe a woman when she comes out with domestic violence in scenarios, because a lot of the times the abusers are these on the outside, these really great, awesome, loving, fun people. And so no one believes it. No one believes it. They're like, there's no way that he did not do that. He would never. And it's like, yet behind closed doors, they turn into a completely different person. And that is why it's so insidious and dangerous, too.
Yeah, it's a manipulation.
It's kind of scary if you think about it.
Of course. They live their whole lives under that mask.
Yeah. And unless you've experienced it, like if you've been on the other side of that, somebody that's like that, you probably wouldn't see the signs. You know?
No, I mean, why would, I mean, listen, like I said, they perfect being who they are.
Yeah.
They have to hide it, you know, otherwise how could they survive in society? You know, how are they going to marry someone? How are they going to find a woman? How are they going to get to do the things that these people do, you know?
You know, what's crazy too, is that they are genuinely, I mean, I guess you could categorize them, because most of the time, someone that's capable of being an abuser, like a physical abuser, is either like, you know, a narcissistic person, like they're a narcissist, or they're a psychopath or a sociopath. They're usually in that realm, right? And what's crazy to me is the concept of a person who literally plays people like a chess game.
Right.
Where every single person in their life, they're literally just using to fill a role that benefits them and makes them look good on the outside. That is like mind-boggling to me that there are people like that.
Well, it's because you're not like that. It's tough to imagine.
It is just, it's crazy though, to think that like they don't love you.
Right.
They don't love you. They make you feel like they love you so that you will continue to show up for them in the ways they need you.
Right.
It's just sick.
Well, I mean, listen, on that note though, I feel like, I mean, there's physical abusers, right? Mental. I feel like, you know, we're talking about cancel culture, and obviously the incident that happened with Will Smith is more recent. Yeah. But I feel like his wife, you know, mentally abused him.
Do you think so?
Absolutely. I think she, you know, brutalized him throughout his marriage. I mean, look what she did to him at the red table. I mean, how do you sandbag your husband like that?
Talk about that.
And then on top of it all, I don't know if she cheats on him with her son's friend. Or she carried on a relationship with her son's friend. Now, given I believe they were separated at the time, or they had an agreement that they were going to live an open marriage.
Okay, that's different.
But your
though.
son's friend? Are you joking? That's insane.
I mean, not to defend her because, whatever. That's a really bad look. But I don't think, I can't imagine that she just was like, you know what? I think I want it to be my son's friend. I think that's what I want it to be. Like, I think I'm just going to, you know what? I'm going to go after this one because that would be the worst option. Like,
she had to
there had to have been like some sort of cat and mouse game going on for some time.
But there's no excuse for it. I don't care what the cat and mouse game is.
You're right.
That's your husband,
you are 100%
that's your son's
right.
friend. It should never be an option on the table, period.
I agree. I'm just saying, like, there had to have been something going on, right?
Maybe, but there's no rationalizing it, even if there was.
You're right. You're right.
You don't do that.
You're right. I stand corrected.
If you love someone, you don't do that to them, period. I mean, your son's friend, I mean, that's outrageous.
No, it is weird.
There's so many people in the world. You don't need to go there.
I agree.
I don't care if he jumped on top of you and he was the hottest thing in the world or vice versa. You just don't do that to someone that you care about.
I hear what
That's
you're saying.
the father of your children or the mother of your children. Why would you devastate them like that?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
You could go with anybody. I mean, you're Jada Pinkett. You could be with anybody you want.
That is true. That is true.
That's all. So, things like, I mean, so it goes to show. I mean, listen, it can be both ways, but, he had, I don't justify his behavior either. I don't think what he did on stage to Chris Rock was warranted at all. I mean, I believe he had a very weak moment. I think that, there was a lot of built up aggression and anger, especially circulating him and his wife at the time. But you don't do shit like that. You don't act out that way. And if you really find yourself in a situation where you're that pent up, you have that much anger, that much aggression, and your relationship is so toxic that you're going to get up on a national stage and smack the shit out of somebody, then you need to remove yourself from it. So I hold them both accountable.
Sure. I think accountability is important.
It is.
But I also think that it's easy for us to say that, never having been in that exact position.
Right.
And I think that I am probably overly empathetic for people. I will say that. I think it's pretty clear. But that's only because I think of myself, even in situations that I'm like, ooh, I think to myself, would I be capable of that too?
Right.
If the circumstances were the same? And the answer is always yes.
Right.
Almost always, yeah, I would be capable of that. Because I'm also human. So, and I think that's why I over-empathize with people. It's not even that I'm empathizing with them.
Right.
It's more like I can understand it.
Right.
Doesn't make it okay. Doesn't make it right. Doesn't mean they shouldn't be held accountable. I get that. I think those things are important for people, and important for people to see that other people are being held accountable.
Right.
And it's important for them to hold themselves accountable and to make the changes for sure.
Yeah.
But I do think, my God, we all pretend like we would never. I would never do that. I don't care how drunk I got. I would never cuss somebody out.
Right.
I don't care. It's kind of like parenting.
Right.
You are the best parent until you become one. Like, you know what I mean? Like you think I'm going to be the best parent until you actually become a parent. And then all the things you said you wouldn't do, you do.
Right.
Like, it's just, the whole concept of until you've walked a mile in someone's shoes, you shouldn't be judging them. I just really stand by that.
Well, the whole thing is we'll never be able to say that we walked in their shoes because we're not them.
Yeah.
But I've been in toxic situations before and I've not reacted that way.
And I'm not saying.
So I can relate to them though.
I'm not saying it's excusable.
Right.
I'm not saying that there aren't a million other people that have actually walked in those shoes that didn't do the right thing.
Right.
I'm sure there are.
Yeah, I agree. We all have breaking points. I agree. I do agree with that. It's just whether or not, depending on who we are, it's just about how much willpower we have and whether or not we're going to give into it. Right.
Yeah.
Like Denzel approached him after and basically said something to that effect. That's at your highest moment when the devil will come for you.
Yeah.
And, basically implying like you need to, not react. Don't act on it because that's what he wants you to do.
Yeah. I know it's a fine line too.
It is.
Like, because it's like, the moment you start going, well, but what if you were in their shoes? I get it. It's like, okay, but where does that end?
Right.
At one point do you go, okay, wrong is wrong.
Right.
Like what they did was wrong. Like, I get that. But I just hate cancel culture because I think that it's most of the time it's hypocritical people, throwing out comments and judgments and jabs at people for doing something that they would do themselves.
Right. I agree. And I also
mean?
think it's for no reason sometimes.
Yeah. And sometimes it's at someone that really actually wasn't deserving of it.
Right. It's petty stuff, like petty thing. If they weren't a superstar or in the spotlight, you would never pay it any mind.
Right.
And
exactly.
that's the problem for me too with it. You only do targeting these people because of who they are.
Right.
It's like you want to take them down a peg.
Yeah,
Why?
exactly.
What did they ever do to you?
Yeah. And it's kind of wild to me too, if you think about this. This is when you think about society as a whole, and then you think about how easily they will grab a torch to go take somebody down and burn the monster or whatever.
Right.
And yet we're also talking about the same kind of people. God love them. God bless them. I hope they all heal. That will literally write love letters to a serial killer in prison. You know what I'm saying? Like, I didn't like that he yelled at his girlfriend like that. But Ted Bundy, hi, I love you so much. Let's get married. Like, it's just weird to me.
Isn't that wild? They have fan clubs, those guys?
Yes.
Crazy. Now, I wonder, you think those women are sociopaths?
I can't even begin to understand what is behind that.
Like, what's the attraction?
I don't know. I don't know. It's mental illness. That's all I know.
It's got to be, right?
It's a serious mental illness to be like, you know what? There's something really hot about that guy that just murdered 37 people.
Very charming, this guy.
God, I love it. Like, oh, God,
I think even Jeffrey Dahmer had fans.
Well, I think they all do. All of them. That's like a very well known. Almost every serial killer in prison has a fan club.
You'd have to think they have to be sociopathic, those people, to a degree. Otherwise,
I guess.
Or they're just lunatics, because how could you possibly?
But these are the same people that are like, Jennifer Lopez is a diva, not on my watch. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, come on. Like, it's just a confusing thing altogether. Like,
there's a hypocrisy built into it.
There's so much.
Yeah, for sure.
So much. Like,
the thing is, what do we do to get past it, though? You just have to
Here's the thing. And I think I said this either on another episode or even yesterday. There's a difference between people who have made mistakes and can take responsibility for it and people who are flat out like perpetrators.
Right.
Like, does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
There's a difference between, you know what? I really did have a moment, or I got into my ego for a while and I acted out of, in ways that weren't cool.
Right.
Like, and I need to make a change. And I know that. Like, I think that's one thing. And those people get canceled. And sometimes they change and sometimes they don't. And that's all about them. Right. And then there's the Harvey Weinsteins of the world. Like, there's a big difference. There really is.
There's a huge difference.
Jennifer Lopez might be a bitch.
Right.
But she's not out raping people. You know?
They should not be held under the same light. They should not. And that's the problem with it, though. There is no, like you said, it's black and white, There is no distinction between them. Yeah. It's just people don't agree. They don't like what they stand for, and therefore they cancel them.
And I guess that's part of it. I guess it's okay because it's just the way we live. But I don't know. It is what it is. It's not affecting my life, whether these people lose their fame or not. Like, I think fame is the weirdest thing that's ever existed in humanity. It's so bizarre to me.
I mean, it's popularity, really. Is what it is, right? You're just one of the most well-known people in the world because people see your face everywhere.
That's right. I was thinking about that today. I was like, if you really think about it, if you really break it down, all fame is a person who's on everyone's televisions.
Right.
And then you just know their face.
Yeah, that's what it is.
That's all fame is just somebody who people decided, let's stick their face everywhere.
Right.
That's it. There's no difference between them and anyone else.
They're all human beings.
They're just seen everywhere.
Right. Absolutely.
Like, that's all that fame is. It's weird. It's so weird. And we grew to start like worshiping them, which I do think is collapsing at this point. I think celebrity is collapsing.
It's not what it used to be, for sure.
I mean, it's just like it's taken a hit. Like, even that whole movement that happened, I don't know, a month ago, maybe 2 months ago on TikTok. Did you see that?
No, what was it?
It started with that girl that was at one of the award shows.
Yeah.
And she said, let them eat cake. And it was during the whole Palestine genocide situation. And people were just like, what? Because she was wearing like a queen's gown. I can't remember her name. She was a huge TikToker. And people went berserko because this woman said, let them eat cake while they were showing images of children starving and getting their, limbs chopped off and stuff in this horrific, awful event. Right. And so it was just like very like insensitive.
Yeah. She's very cavalier about the whole thing.
Yeah. And then they were talking about the award show itself. What was that? It was the one where they dressed really weird. The really one where they dressed like really over the top and weird.
I'm trying to think of award shows. They have like the BAFTA. They have obviously the Oscars,
the
Emmys,
but I'm
Golden Globes.
Bad about keeping up with that stuff. It's not those.
Is it an award show for actors and actresses?
It's not even. I don't even think it's like necessarily an award show. I think it's like a fashion event where all the celebrities go and they wear these outlandish outfits, and there's always a theme. And this year it was like Garden of the Gods or something like that.
Well, they have the one in France. What's it called? It's like a fashion show.
Yeah.
It's a big one. Man,
anyway, that happened right in the midst of that war that was going on. And so people just went ballistic, and they were like, it was just this huge thing of like how like sheltered and like, what's the word I'm looking for? How blinded are we by celebrity that we're more concerned about these award shows than we are wars where people are dying and innocent children and women are dying. Like that was like the concept of it, which was really, I felt like was credible,
Well, it's true.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
And the point I'm bringing about it comes back, that girl got like hit really hard. She had like 10 million followers and it just dropped. And the next thing you know, they started this movement. They're like, let's cancel all the celebrities that didn't say anything about this, that don't speak on these things, that don't care about humanitarian efforts. Like, let's cancel them all. And so they started like all these celebrities started getting blocked, and like their numbers were just like plummeting on, social media, and people were like, don't follow them anymore, block everything they do. And it was really interesting and really wild. And that's why I say I think the celebrity idea is kind of starting to collapse.
Yeah, I can see that though. But I mean, listen, listen, the celebrities are not directly involved with certain things. I mean, listen, they can't stand there and speak up about every single problem or issue that the world has.
Right.
At the end of the day, we miss that they're human beings like anybody else. Yeah. They have lives like anybody else.
Yeah.
Like I said, they can't carry the torch for every single thing going on in the world. Right. So, but like people like, for example, like Kim Kardashian and her family, like they did the Balenciaga promo, and there was, child pornography folders and
I kind of
shit all over the table.
Is that what that was about?
Yeah, and they had kids wearing the clothes, and it was just a really bad look. And at the end of the day, Kim Kardashian would not denounce Balenciaga. She just wouldn't do it.
I wonder why.
I have no idea. Because then they were apologizing for being insensitive, that they didn't mean it that way. But you have kids in the photo shoot, right? You have all this shit on the table that's referencing child pornography, and you're sorry about being insensitive, and then you, Kim Kardashian, don't want to denounce the company for doing something like that. I mean, it's atrocious.
Very, very interesting.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
It does make you wonder, like, what's behind all that like
that they would even do it.
Because for me personally, again, this is another person saying, well, if it were me, I would have done the right thing. I don't know that I would have, but I think to myself, just as a regular person, if I knew that a company I was promoting was doing anything concerning child porn, I'd be like, donezo. I don't care if you're paying me $20 million a year.
Right.
So it just makes me wonder what I would turn down the money before I would support something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
You know what I mean?
And it's not her only source of income. So she could have very easily denounced them, and she wouldn't have even been phased. Not to mention she's a billionaire already. So who gives a shit? At this point, like, when does enough become enough for these people? Like, you have everything you need. You don't need any more. So at that point, like for me, if I had earned that kind of money in my lifetime, that would give me the ultimate power to say and do and deal with whoever the fuck I want.
You would think.
Right? Because now I don't have to deal with anybody.
Yeah.
Now, if I don't agree with something you do, I don't give a fuck. I can move on to whatever I want, because you know what? I don't need you.
Yeah.
And that's it. So either, you align with my morals and my values, or we don't do business together. And it's really that simple. And I don't know why it was so difficult for her to make that distinction.
I don't either.
Why? Like, it's child pornography. Are we joking?
I don't either.
What the fuck are we talking about here?
I imagine that somebody wouldn't just be like, oh, hell nah. We ain't doing that.
Well, she was getting skewered for it by everybody.
I know. That's why. And that's another reason why you would think that would pressure them into it. Like, even if they didn't want to. Like,
I think what happens, I see that what I just said, having all that money, I think it works both ways, right? So I think, yes, you would think, depending on your character, that you would take the advantage of the fact that you could walk away and you don't have to stand behind someone that condones something like that. But on the other hand, they have so much money, they don't have to give a shit what you or I think. So to them, it's like, well, no one's going to force me to do this because I'm Kim Kardashian and I don't fucking need you anymore.
Well, it also makes me think that I wonder if there's like written contracts too, where like if she breaks that contract with them, she's now sued for $20 million. You know what I mean?
Well, but there's things in those contracts that protect their brand. So if there's something that is outright hurting their brand, something illegal maybe even, they can easily vacate those contracts. For sure. They would never have them written any other way. They give these actors, actresses, celebrities, all these influencers clothing to wear to these red carpet events.
And that's why so many of them get away with being kind of shitty behaved people for so long, where people just cater to them and bend over to them, Well,
that's why everybody thinks, Hollywood's in cahoots, right? They're like, all in like some secret fucking society.
They might have some things like that, but I don't think every single one of them is involved.
No, I don't either, but I'm just saying it's things like that that put people and make it sus,
Sus.
Make it sus. Because
do you believe in the Illuminati?
I'll tell you what I do know. If the world was ever coming to an end, they would be okay. And we would be
would be screwed.
So I can tell you that much is for certain.
That is very true. Right. They've all got their bunkers.
Yeah. And that's all I need to know.
And their first class plane tickets with the billionaires out of here.
Exactly.
It's interesting that people are quick to jump on the bandwagon when we're talking about a celebrity being rude or obnoxious, but they're real slow to jump on any bad bandwagon that actually affects the quality of our lives.
Right.
Like local politics or global warming, like no one wants to believe in it. And my question is real or not, why are we so resistant to the idea that it exists? Maybe there's more to it than that I don't know. It's just an interesting thing to me that people are like, absolutely not. I refuse to believe that our planet is burning up. I refuse. But why?
I think people just don't want to acknowledge it. I think they're just happy in their world and that's it. It's out of sight, out of mind.
But there are even like politicians that are going out of their way to say it doesn't exist.
That's an agenda being pushed.
My thing with something like this, like a situation like this is, here's the situation. We'll say it's global warming. If they're right about global warming, what's the consequences and believing them? If they're wrong, what are the consequences and not believing them?
Right.
Yeah. And the question is like, what's the worst case scenario if we believe that global warming exists? Is that we do things to make the planet a little bit healthier.
Right.
We spend a lot of money on innovation that helps keep, agriculture going and all of these things. That's a horrible option. Like what? But if we're wrong, the world shrivels up and we die. Yeah. So it's like, for me, it's like wrong or right. Sometimes I think we get so caught up on if it's, true or false. And we don't consider the fact of what the consequence is if we believe it or if we don't.
Yeah, I get that. It's hard I get it. I understand what you're saying. For someone like for me, I'm very much of the mindset I always have been that when it's my time, it's my time. Whether that means it's because the world ends or because I get run over by a car, I just feel like when it's our time, it's going to be regardless of what we do.
I agree to an extent. But it's like, if we can make our earth healthier for the people in our in the future,
right,
so that they're not living in a desert wasteland,
right,
shouldn't we?
Yes, we should.
Yeah, I totally agree with that statement.
I'm just saying, like, if we have that choice and we have that option, even if we're wrong, even if there is no such thing,
right,
if that's not really what's happening, if this is just part of nature and it'll fluctuate and go back to normal when it needs to. Is that really that awful of an option, is to just do things just in case?
No, I don't think so. I guess for the people that prevent it, the people that try to stand in the way of it, it's a financial thing. It's a money thing.
Yeah, I know.
It's whether or not they want to spend the money to do something or they want to lose money because they change things.
Yeah.
Especially like the oil and gas companies. They're just,
yeah,
we can't live without them. So they're going to have a lot of power on what the narrative is and what's pushed.
We just...
Well, it would have to be a drastic change.
No, I know. I'm saying
society.
It would take years and time.
Yeah,
it would take a group effort of people believing that there are other options, right?
Yeah,
right.
there are documents to prove that like GMC, I believe, there was an electric car that was made. I think it was back in the 60s or 70s, and GMC bought the blueprint and the patent for it back then, and it just and electric car just didn't come out.
They buried it.
Yeah,
Westinghouse did it with like it's a never-ending light bulb.
Yeah.
So Westinghouse bought the patent and buried it.
So why?
Because
they stand to lose
people
billions.
Don't need something like if you have recyclable energy available to people,
right?
Then they don't need to buy anything. They just have it right then and there.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So
yeah, God forbid.
You don't need to change your light bulb anymore. You know
God forbid.
So they get to sell it to you once and then that's it.
Yeah, you would save like thousands of dollars throughout your lifetime. And that's so many people.
Yeah.
And that's just the United States.
Right.
Just imagine like throughout the entire world, people not needing light bulbs. You know what I'm saying? And then when it comes to like global warming and the benefits, we saw it during COVID when people weren't driving for like 2 or 3 months. There were dolphins swimming in Italy. Think about that. Like dolphins were like, okay, we can go back to the city now. It's been thousands of years.
Right.
And we can literally just swim through this because it's clear enough. And it took like literally 2 or 3 months only.
I know.
Yeah.
Friends of mine have literally propped up, and I'm pretty sure all of us have probably heard this, and it would be sick if this was even an idea for countries or states to do as like a whole, taking like maybe like 2 weeks from driving. But that could never happen because of the way that economies are set up.
Right.
It just can't
won't
happen. No.
It's like the people saying, oh, you know, if we hate gas prices, let's all stop getting gas. Well, that's not reasonable.
Good luck
that's not a great option because
how are you going to get your goods?
What if,
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
I can't run on your car doesn't run on empty.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's why it would have to be way too many people in a collective to make that kind of change.
Yeah.
And there'd be too many people working against it.
Yeah.
You know, too many people not for it.
Yeah.
That'd be tough. You'd have to somehow change the entire mentality of the world.
For our time, for something to happen like that is very wishful thinking.
Yeah.
It is very wishful thinking. And I wish it would hapen. But like I said, it's wishful. It's not necessarily going to happen. Like what you said about when it's my time, it's my time. I totally agree because although I am a person that does think that way, like there are so many people that don't, and I feel like it's so split down the middle,
right?
To where even if 50% of the people did do a thing, like would it really make that big of a difference in comparison to all the people that do push the other side?
No, it wouldn't. It absolutely wouldn't. And it's just
like life is life.
And at this time in our life, in our world, everything's too divided.
Yeah, exactly.
We're too divided as people. We just are. It's unlike any time we've ever been before.
Yeah.
So this is like the worst possible time that we could even try to attempt something like that.
Oh yeah.
You know, the country needs to get back together, needs to heal. I mean, the world in general. So it's just not. I don't even want to say it's wishful thinking because honestly, it's almost like, you know, a pipe dream.
Yeah.
At this point, you know?
I agree.
Which is sad. But...
Yeah.
It is. It is. Absolutely. But you think people would collectively want to make the world a better place, but they really just want to make their lives a better place.
Yeah, which is kind of why I think, like low key, I think that is a reason for why cancel culture is a thing to begin with, is because a dramatic amount of people do want to see a dramatic change.
Yeah.
Right.
I just think that the way to go about it could be a little bit, you know, a little bit more
amicable.
Yeah.
Right. It could be.
Yeah.
That's my thing. What I want to see canceled is a rigid mindset, like that keeps any possibility of compromise off the table.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like even with politics and stuff, it's just like it's not a simple solution. It sounds simple, but I hate people that are so fixed in their thoughts that there's not even room for negotiation or talking or coming together with ideas and like balancing. I you know? So
yeah.
That would be nice if we get rid of that mindset, but yeah, I just don't see how you do it.
I don't either. I don't know the answer.
People are just, it's very hard to change people. We've talked about this countless times, especially at our age.
Yeah.
We are who we are, you know, and to make that kind of change in someone's mentality, probably near impossible at this stage in their life.
They have to want to do it themselves.
Right. It has to start with the younger generations. The younger generations need to be influenced to grow, to think differently than we do and our generation does. Because changing us is not going to happen. It's got to start from the ground and work its way up so that it happens in the future.
I think it's possible for us to change still too.
Yeah, maybe as a collective species,
right,
things will change, like you said, through like younger people just maybe finding newer ways, better ways, ways to do things, right?
Well, that's where the innovation has always come from.
Yeah, exactly.
It's always come from the younger generations growing and improving. You know, it's how we evolve as a society.
Yeah, there was this one kid that I saw. He literally he was able to find a way, and he jerry-rigged this contraption. I don't know how, but he's really smart. This kid on TikTok. He was able to grab plastic and make it back into oil.
Oh yeah?
Yes. He was able to do it, and
so he reverse engineer it?
Yes, and he was able to test it with someone's car, and it worked.
Wow.
Yeah. Gasoline from plastic to go all the way back to where it started from.
I wonder what he used to break down the molecules.
He has like this crazy thing in his backyard. My brother was showing me this because he was like, dude, I want to find a way to invest in this kid.
Right.
Because imagine if he had real equipment and could make this into a legit thing.
Yeah, they'll take that down quick.
Oh, yeah.
The gas companies the oil companies will never allow for that.
No, there's one kid that's got government contracts.
Oh, for what?
Some kind of technology that he created. He's like 16 years old.
That's crazy. These kids,
wild.
It's amazing. It's amazing
outrageous.
to see how smart kids are getting. Like they're so much smarter now than we were when we were kids.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, well, to be able to teach yourself something to that degree at that age, right? Yeah. Because you can guarantee no one around you is as smart as you are.
Yeah. For
so where do you get it from, right? You're self-taught as a teenager. You're self-taught to the degree where you have government contracts coming in and your parents have to co-sign for you.
That's crazy.
So that you can work. Like, it's outrageous.
Mom and dad, the government need your signature on this.
The Pentagon called.
That's a movie right there.
Right. It'd be amazing.
It is what it is until something else changes. So
I just would like to see like a positive wave.
Yeah, it would be nice.
You know, come across like for a minute, just for a minute, where we can kind of get back to like the type of country where people are like in their communities doing things to help each other out and help their neighbors out. And like, we're not just jumping on top of people and villainizing them for being stupid for a second. We're going, okay, they're people too. How can we show up and like make it better?
Yeah.
Like help them, you know, hold them accountable, but help them learn and be there with them to help them grow from it. You know, like people don't change just because they're shamed. You can't change a person through shaming them. You might change them, but not in the way that you want them to change. You change people by extending grace to them in the moments when maybe they didn't deserve it.
Right.
Yeah.
No, because otherwise what they're going to do is they're just going to find a way to not get caught again.
Yeah.
That's what they do.
Mm-hmm. And being like there alongside them and be like, hey, like, yeah, this was wrong. You know, like, but in a way that makes them inspires them to change. Like, I get it. Some people won't ever change.
Right.
Some people are truly narcissistic and all of those things. And they are who they are. And it's hard to know the difference sometimes. Yeah. But.
All right, everybody, that's it. It's a wrap again. Thanks for joining us. Be sure to continue to give us your feedback. You know that we love it. Be sure to check us out on IG at notfornothing.podcast and check us out on YouTube at Not For Nothing Podcast. Thank you, guys, and we'll see you next week.